Alright, good evening folks. We're here to start off your Final Four here tonight. It's a great Monday night. This is what usually would have been the national championship night for the actual March Madness. We're going to get you guys started here with the Final Four. We're going to start off with you guys, giving you guys the four teams that are in a part of this Final Four that have gotten their way through this tournament and made some big moves, made some big plays, and have gotten to where they are today. First off, the Cinderella story. Part of our first game here tonight is going to be a huge game to watch as Belmont, the 14 seed, the lowest seed to ever make the Final Four and even get past the Sweet 16, is going to be going up against Florida State. A great game here to watch here tonight as we see Belmont going through in the Midwest region. They started off going up against Duke. Duke, a team that had lost to a couple Quad 3 teams throughout this year, lost to Wake Forest, lost to NC State, and now they lost to Belmont. Belmont took them down by 11. A really big win for Belmont. They started off with that win. Ended up going up against another possible Cinderella story in East Tennessee State. They took them down pretty easily in that game. Then went on to play Kentucky. This is where it got a little crazy in its own way. Belmont destroyed Kentucky in not many people's minds. A game where Belmont would have won. That sent them to the Elite Eight, the first team below a 12 seed to ever make it to the Elite Eight. They would go up against Kansas and do just the same thing. Kansas, the number one overall team in the country going into this tournament, Belmont would take them down 73-45 in that huge game. Would just destroy or run the table the entire game from the first half, early in the first half to late in the second. It was never close. Belmont just held a hold of that lead, and that's why they are here today. Florida State, on the other hand, is a team that was a little bit of a bubble that we talked about earlier. A possible first region leader in one of the opportunities. They were just barely the number 2 seed in their region. If you see their region here in the East region, they would start off their tournament going up against Wright State, not a team that has been doing much. They would win that first game and then go up against West Virginia. This is one of the close ones for Florida State. Just would barely beat out West Virginia, 74-72. Last few seconds of shots propelled Florida State just to get by West Virginia, and that's when they would go on to Hofstra. Hofstra, a team that beat Villanova and UCLA to get themselves a Sweet 16, much more upsets. Florida State would take them down comparatively easy, 85-59. 26-point win would send them to the Elite Eight. This is where it got very interesting. Florida State going up against Florida. The matchup of Florida, a really good matchup to see. Florida State took down Florida just barely at the end. Florida State last second shot, as you might have seen one of our videos a couple days ago, with just 9 seconds left, they would get a really clutch shot at the end. Then would get a really clutch turnover just before Florida had any chance of tying it up. And that's how they would get themselves to the Final Four here. In our second matchup here tonight, you're going to see Creighton going up against Gonzaga. Creighton, a team that is from Omaha. It's been a great team all around. Probably the best team that we've ever seen out of Creighton University. You know, you've seen guys like Kyle Korver. You've seen guys like Doug McDermott. Guys like Greg or Raggi going in through this university. We've never had the success that this team has had this year. Creighton going into their conference tournament, winning the regular season championship in the Big East. A team that was coming in here a 2 seed that had really high hopes into getting really big wins. Marcus Zagorowski getting hurt in one of their final few games in the regular season. We thought here that he would have enough time to be able to get rested and get himself prepared for that second round matchup. He did not play that first round matchup up against Little Rock. He came into the second round matchup fully healed, and he had a great game. Tyshawn Alexander is the biggest part of this Creighton offense. And the big question still is if Marcus Zagorowski is fully healthy. He seems like he has been the last few games, but you never know, especially when you get down into these big Final Four games. As we see Creighton's run into the tournament, Creighton started off against Little Rock, a huge blowout win. The score does not tell enough, 101-92. It was a 9-point game there, but I mean it was a blowout throughout. Creighton had control throughout the entire game. They would end up going up against USC, to where it would be much the same story. Creighton would take down USC with ease. USC, a smaller team this season who hasn't had the success that they've had in the past, and Creighton would easily move on to the Sweet 16. Here is where it would get a team in Michigan State, to where that a little bit of an even matchup. Michigan State also vying for a possible 2 seed going into Selection Sunday, would end up going down to the 3 seed. Michigan State was a team that could very well beat this Creighton team, but they did not show up in their Sweet 16 matchup. Creighton would take down Michigan State by handily margin, 73-55. That was a huge win there, and they would head themselves on to the Elite Eight. Creighton would go up against Florida in that Elite Eight matchup, would go up against Baylor in that Elite Eight matchup. Baylor, the number 2 team in the country heading into Selection Sunday, heading into this tournament, and they would not be on their game. They would have a little bit of a rough patch between a couple other teams, including Louisville the day before. Louisville would take them the wire down to the end of the game. Baylor would just barely beat Louisville, and it looks like they might have been tired going up against Creighton. Creighton demolished Baylor, a 19-point victory over Baylor in that Elite Eight matchup, and they are headed to the Final Four for the first time in program history. Remember, in 1941, I'm going to guess nobody watching this has remembered that game. Creighton got themselves to the Elite Eight, but would lose in that matchup when the bracket was less than 64 teams back in 1941. A little bit of a different atmosphere here, but Creighton is going to head themselves, along with Tyshawn Alexander, along with Damian Jefferson, and along with Marcus Zagorowski. They're going to head to the Final Four here. And their competitor, the team they're going up against, is the Gonzaga Bulldogs. One thing for Gonzaga throughout their last few years, when they've truly been the team that they have been, is a question of their schedule. They've been going up in the West Coast Conference, going up against BYU, going up against St. Mary's, going up against Pepperdine. Some teams that are still halfway tournament teams, but aren't kind of quite the level of matchups that you'd see in the Big East, or you'd see in the ACC, or you'd see in the SEC. Gonzaga getting the 1 seed, and they have proved the team that they can be. Gonzaga in their West region getting the 1 seed. They started off against one of the first 4 teams that we showed in our first game, Prairie View A&M. They barely took down Prairie View A&M. The A&M, a team that was really, had a lot of momentum on their back, tried to be the second 16 seed to ever win up against the 1 seed. They will not be able to pull that one out, as Gonzaga would get to the second round. In the second round, Gonzaga would get past LSU by a fair margin. Would be a close game throughout, but it was very much so in the hand of Gonzaga. Next up, they would go up against Oregon, and they would destroy Oregon 90-58. 2 players in over 16 points in that game for Gonzaga, and they would head themselves to the Elite Eight. At the Elite Eight, they would go up against BYU. BYU was a team that went back and forth. Excuse me, there on the bracket does not show our correct matchups there, but Gonzaga would take down BYU by a fair margin and would head themselves to the Final Four. They'll be going up against Creighton in our second matchup starting at 8 p.m. here tonight. And now we're going to get you guys ready for Final Four matchup number 1. Belmont going up against Florida State.
Turnover. Will it turn into two the other way? shot selection has been questionable. Too many outside jumpers. They've got to attack inside and then out.
Forrest receives the pass. Passes it out of the trap. Cross court. Turns it over. The shooting guard takes the feed. Two-man action. Lots of room. Questionable shot and has it rejected.
Defense did a great job with the blocked shot.
Up and in. Coach providing some additional offensive instruction to his team. In terms of balanced teams, what might we expect from them game to game, Dick?
You know, balanced teams will definitely give you a combination of the two styles. Some teams will play up-tempo on offense and be half-court oriented at the defensive end. Other balanced teams may play in the half-court offensively and really look to pressure their opponents in the full court. Great pass out of the trap, Ryan.
Cross court. Boy, terrible execution on offense. Kicks it out. Lets it fly. He's doing a terrible job of distributing the ball.
They're going to have to pull him out and let somebody else out there. Let him think about it for a while.
Too strong. Number 25 receives the ball.
I'll tell you, he missed the post guy. The post guy had a great angle. Was locking on the box.
To have you along with us tonight. Nick Vitale and Aaron Andrews alongside. I'm Brad Nessler. We got a good one going. Down inside with a bucket. Dick, are they being taken out of their game offensively?
Hey, they're taking themselves out of the game by rushing bad shots and not executing on offense.
Cross court. Escapes the trouble and makes a pass out. Here's a nice face-up down on the low block.
Oh, he did it.
Makes the block. And the ball goes out of bounds. Number 00 coming in for the first time tonight.
He'll give this defense a different kind of threat at this position. Smart move.
Tries for two. Way off target. The center takes the feed. Gave it up. He makes the block. There's a look at the current tempo for the game.
Two teams who are picking and choosing when they want to push the ball, Brian.
Number 25 receives the pass. On the dribble, gives it up. Stolen ball. Williams picks up the foul. First personal foul. Number 21 gets in on his first minutes tonight.
Hey, this kid really knows how to keep the offense moving. Tremendous leader out there.
He is going to the line. Count it. Number 20 gets his first minute.
Very strategic substitution, Brian. Good decision by the coach.
Number 25 handles the pass. They work the perimeter. For two. Perfectly executed. Isolated on the outside. They're working around the arc, looking for the open jumper. The chanting continues.
Who says
This is the team's first trip to the free throw line. No good. For the bucket. They still don't score. Steals the pass. Pushes it up. For three, and they don't score there either. The point guard gets the ball. Picked off. Tries for two. Nick, if you ask me, they're not getting a whole lot of open looks tonight.
They're not moving the ball the way they were taught, Brad.
And a momentary look from three-point land. And the ball goes out of play. Number 33 is put back in the game.
Hey, this team easily comes apart without him out there, Brad.
Let's check in courtside with Aaron Andrews. Aaron?
Brad, before the game, both coaches and players said they were looking forward to tonight's matchup. Whose weaknesses will be exposed and who will really step up, guys?
All right, thanks, Aaron. Thanks, EA, our third member of our team, and our sideline reporter, keeping us up to date with what's taking place behind the scenes and around the bench. Good job, EA. The ball goes out of bounds. Sideline inbounds. Working it around the perimeter for two. Off the rim and no good. Number 4 takes the pass. On the elbow, they feed down to the low block. With lots of room, they can't find the range right now behind the arc.
They should start looking elsewhere. Maybe try and get an easy one inside.
On the outside. The ball goes out of play. Walker checks in the game again.
Hey, always interesting to see how players respond after a bit of a breather.
Goes up for two. Delayed.
That's spacing.
Intercepted. We take a look here at each team's tempo.
Hey, the key to this game is not just who will set the tempo, but who can control it throughout the game.
Murphy handles the pass. The Seminoles are actually known more for their success on the football field more than anything else.
Hey, their football team is great, but their basketball program is starting to turn some heads.
For the bucket. He got the bucket and the foul.
Hey, the foul in the act couldn't stop him, baby. He wanted that bucket.
Steps to the line in hopes of capping the three-point play. He gets it to go. Man might be in a little bit of trouble here, Dick. He passes it out of the track. He'd like to get inside to the low block. Unable to so far. Nice job of packing it in defensively.
Yeah, really doing a great job packing it in. Did a great job of anticipating that lateral pass.
As we continue to track the game's tempo.
The tempo is definitely on the slower side. Something that works well for some teams and not so well for others.
Murphy handles the pass. Tries for two. Their intensity on the board is phenomenal.
I agree. Total domination of rebounding, man. Unbelievable, Brad. They are dominating the rebounding category.
court. Jumped in front to take it away. The point guard gets the pass.
I think right now they're going to focus defensively.
Number 33 receives the pass. Working around the perimeter.
Escape the trap.
Number 5 takes the pass. It looks like he rejects it.
It's a block party out there.
Can't elude the trap.
Great job of containing the man there, Brad.
Looking for a good shot. Wide open. Misses the 3. The power forward with the ball. He intercepts it. Passes it out of the trap. Looks at perimeter.
Spacing so important. Get 15 to 17 feet apart. That was a great effort right there. Trying to play that passing lane. Anticipated really well.
For 2. Up and in.
Trying to get that ball movement, get that good spacing.
Escapes the trouble and makes a pass out. The fadeaway. Plus the fadeaway J. And there's what the game tempo is looking like tonight.
Well, Brad, as the meter indicates, the game has been pretty balanced in terms of tempo. Some short possessions and a few longer ones.
Trying to feed inside. Pull-up jumper left side. Gets the J to fall. Moving it around the perimeter.
Great defensive play. Anticipated well. When you're an anticipator, you got a chance to do well. A lot of guys, they're reactors. If you're a reactor, you're one step behind the action. Up and inside.
He went for the steal in the post and he missed it there.
Oh, I'll tell you one thing. What a poor job defensively. He gambled. He almost found himself in some trouble there, Brad.
Goes up for 2. And he missed. On the outside. With a bucket. The lay-in. Walker receives the ball. Looking to move it around the perimeter. Tries for 2. Up and in. Cross court. He strokes it. He doesn't get the hoop to fall.
Up and inside. This defender is resilient. Still applying pressure.
Number 4 looks to be down emotionally.
Someone may have to talk to him. He needs to get back on track.
Murphy receives the pass. They're working around the perimeter. They get an open 3. He gets the bucket to fall.
Excellent spacing. That's so important to a good offensive set. It's even more important when the talented blocks like this.
Number 32 set to record his first action.
And this guy
in time. Misses the 3 ball. Cross court. For 2. Perfectly executed. Number 2 takes the pass. On the dribble, gives it up. Goes right through the trap.
He wasn't afraid of that trap.
He hammers it home. In terms of balanced teams, what might we expect from them game to game, Dick?
They're trying to really get balanced and then they'll get some points with tempo by creating a little fast pace and then slow it down. And
has it rejected.
defense did a great job with the block shot. He didn't have the good angle. They should have got it to him about a second earlier.
Number 00 is whistled for the foul. Chance to get an easy one here. Makes his first. Second one is no good. Dick, this team is having some serious problems at the free throw line.
And it's a collective effort by all of them tonight.
Gave it up. Goes up for 2 and a chance for a 3-point play.
The old-fashioned way, as we say.
At the foul line. Need to make that. Now they're working around the perimeter. He launches a 3. Sinks the shot. Number 00 receives the pass. And working around the arc. Launches away.
Then if they were smart, they'd go 2 for 1.
With a long bomb. Takes away the pass. The small forward gets the pass. For the bucket. The layup. On the dribble, gives it up. Goes up with a shot.
Little bump. Says, I like that. Now let's see if he can convert.
Opportunity now for an easy one. He makes the first shot. Doesn't miss that opportunity either. He takes the 3. At halftime, the Bruins are up by 7.
Whistler, I'm looking at this and saying, why aren't there more check marks? This team is not delivering. A poor job of preparing for this game.
All right, then, we'll continue to monitor things as we go into the second half. Florida State turned the ball over quite a few times in that first half, Dick.
Their heads just aren't in the game. Some of the turnovers were unforced and plain silly, if you ask me.
Dick, we're heading into the second half in our player matchup. It's going about the way we thought it would.
Oh, they're really doing a great job. Both guys getting good shots, really making them count, and really, their teammates are getting the ball at the right time.
The small forward gets the pass. Poor decision there to shoot that three.
That shot was definitely ill-advised.
Looking for a good shot. Buries it home. Let's check in with Erin Andrews and what she's got in store for us, Erin.
The Seminoles are a team who like to spread out the attack and get production from multiple players. Well, they haven't done this yet, and as a result have found themselves trailing at the half. Dick, at the beginning of the game, you listed this as an important point. Well, they've struggled so far and will only get back to this game by playing their style of basketball. Brad?
Thanks, Erin. I've seen you out there with pom-poms, Mr. Vitale, but not looking that good.
I'll tell you what, don't look that good. I can't dance like that, baby. He missed the post guy. The post guy had the great angle, was locking on the box. Great composure to pass it despite the trap line.
Makes it. Here comes the ball screen. Passes it out of the trap. Williams receives the ball. Tries for two. In and out. Receives the ball. They go into the low block. They go to the entry pass on the post. Turnaround jumper. Up and in. Shot given his abilities.
Hey, a few more of those, he may wind up on the bench.
Murphy receives the ball. For two, he hacked him. Receives the pass.
Nice stepping it, man. Take a look right here. Little burst of up in shorts. Little ballerina hanging in the air.
He's a jack of all trades. They work the perimeter. For the deuce. The lane. This looks like it might be a rout.
Hey, the defense better force some turnovers.
Number 25 handles the pass. Now trying to feed the low block. Now the turnaround jumper. He grabs the board. Isolated on the outside. They're working around the arc, looking post. They come up short. On the outside. Goes up for two. Perfectly executed. Number 25 handles the feed, kicks it out. For the bucket. The layup was good. Well, here's a look at the tempo for both teams tonight, Dick.
You know, it's crucial, Brad, that both teams stick to their style of play. If not, the chances of them winning definitely decreases. Look at that spacing.
Tries for two. Perfectly executed. Gray handles the feed. They'd like to get it inside to the low block. Unable to so far. Nice job of packing it in defensively.
Yeah, they're really doing a great job tackling it in. Did a great job of anticipating that lateral pass.
They really seem to be letting this one get away, Dick.
Yeah, there's been a breakdown somewhere. They need to talk this one over, Brad.
They work it around the perimeter. Picked out of the air. Gave it up. And the ball goes out of bounds. Dick, you know, we always like comparing positions and specific matchups. What are your thoughts about the backcourt matchup so far?
Hey, Brad, sometimes comparisons can be misleading. If your backcourt is weaker, then you just hope to contain your opponent's guards. Keep them in check. If you have strong backcourt play, you must attack and exploit any mismatches.
Looking for a good shot. Murphy may have escaped one there. 10 on the shot clock. On the dribble, gives it up. Tries a three. Buried it. Number 25 receives the ball. Tries the turn, and the defense comes up with a play.
What a terrific play to stop that spin move.
Williams receives the ball, trying to feed the low block. 10 seconds to shoot. And the ball goes out of play. Here's the inbound play on the baseline. 7 on the shot clock. Puts up the shot. No good from the field. Work the perimeter.
Spacing so important. Get 15 to 17 feet apart.
Turnaround jumper. Grabs it.
Fill the lanes. That's the only way they'll be able to get some fast break opportunities. Trying to get that ball movement, get that good spacing.
He pulls up with a jumper. Missed the jumper. Gave it up. He beats him to the punch defensively.
What a terrific job. Footwork really excellent on a post play.
Here comes a pick.
Hey, ball screens are such an important part of the game these days. Guys are so creative when it comes to using.
He cashed in on the layup and gets the foul.
He knew he was going to get fouled, Brad, but he took the hit like a man.
Number 33 subs back out down on the court.
You'll see the D quickly readjust, Brad.
Let's go to the third member of our broadcast team. Here's Aaron Andrews.
Brad, both coaching staffs expected this to be an even matchup. Who will throw the first punch, and how will the other react?
EA, of course, our third member, getting that additional insight and dealings from the sideline. They might have him in some trouble here, Dick.
He's trapped, Brad. Hey, dodge one there, Brad.
Timeout on the floor. We're ready to get back to the action. Moving it around the perimeter. And has it rejected.
Defense did a great job with that block shot.
He passes it out of the trap. Cross court.
Great pass out of the trap, Brad. Coming inside.
Picks off the lazy pass. For two. Up and in. On the outside. Picks off the pass. Cross court. Goes up for two. Play it.
Escape the trap.
Number 4 receives the ball. Jumper won't go. Murphy receives the ball. Looking to move it around the perimeter. For the bucket. That, ladies and gentlemen, might really silence this crowd.
That could be the dagger. Clutch shot.
The shooting guard gets the pass. Tries for two.
I wish somebody would knock down a jumper. Hey, that guy had 1,400 on his boards. And look at him running out there like a wacko. Oh, man. Look at that wacko.
He beats him to the punch defensively.
What a terrific job. Footwork really excellent on a post player.
For two. He can't get the hoop to fall. Great composure to pass it out of the trap.
Coming inside.
Steals a pass. Well, here's a look at the tempo for both teams tonight, Dick.
You know, it's crucial, Brad, that both teams stick to their style of play. If not, the chances of them winning definitely decreases.
Inside. Picked off. Number 24. That one's blocked from behind.
Great rotation by the D. I love it.
He'll want that one back. Up and in. Well, the coach doesn't like what he's seeing right now. He's calling a timeout. We'll get back to the action here after the timeout. Number 5 handles the feed. They look to get it to the inside. Goes up for 2. You can't go those kind of stretches against a team of this quality and expect to win. On the dribble, gives it up. He shoots from outside. No. They can't seem to put the 3 ball in against this zone.
And they're forced to shoot the 3, Brad, because the lane is not open.
Kicks it out. There's the rejection.
Get that sucker out of the game, man.
Number 5 receives the ball. Looking around the perimeter. Intercepted. Number 32 with the ball.
Excellent spacing. That's so important to a good offensive set. It's even more important to have talented guards like they have.
Yeah, that helps. With a bucket. They still don't score. The point guard takes the pass. Now they're working around the perimeter. Tries for 2. Perfectly executed. He takes a 3. That one's off. Way off target.
I tell you, they all want to take it to the rack. High wire rack, baby. Little tipsy dude Dunkaroo.
Number 4 receives the ball. They're working around the arc.
There it is, Jam City.
And there's sort of a snapshot of our game tempo.
These teams are selectively pushing the ball and looking for transition opportunities.
The point guard gets the pass. From the top of the circle, knocks it down.
What a great touch. Good baseline drive, squared his body, welcomes some pressure.
Looking for a good shot. He shoots the jumper. Dickey simply on fire.
Hey, call the fire department, baby. This one's burning up.
They're going to need a miracle to get a victory in this one now.
It sure is, Brad. They have no chance of getting back into this one.
Gave it up for 2. The lane.
I'll tell you, he missed the post guy. The post guy had the great angle, was locking on the box.
Goes up for 2. Up and in. They work the perimeter. With a bucket. And in and out. The point guard takes the feed. On the dribble, gives it up. Tries the turn, and the defense comes up with a play.
What a terrific play to stop that spin move.
He gets the rebound. Isolated on the outside. They're working around the arc, looking for the open jumper. Tries for two, and off the mark. Pushes it up. He passes it out of the trap. And a momentary look from three-point land.
He almost found himself in some trouble there, Brad.
Hopkins receives the ball. Cross court. And that's going to be an offensive foul for sure.
What a great job defensively. What a super job. Great footwork. And he really draws the charge.
Jumped in front to take it away.
Hey, they're going to have to watch that. Fatigue will make players do some silly things.
Working it around the perimeter. He shoots from right of the circle.
How many bricks have we seen? Will somebody make a jump shot, please?
Cross court. Turnaround jumper. Rebound.
They need to get out and run their lanes now.
Pull-up jumper from way out. Goes in. The point guard handles the feed. Cross court. Basket's good. That's goaltending. Sometimes a step that gets lost, Dick. Turnovers, and that can kill you in the ballgame.
I tell you, turnovers can absolutely destroy a team's performance. If you give teams easy baskets, you got no shot to win.
On the outside, well, Dick, another one's in the books. Any final thoughts about the keys we had coming into this game?
Those points of emphasis are based on the team style of play. Delivering it all, if not most of those points, should help secure the victory. Understanding your team's strengths and weaknesses is so important, Brad. I can't emphasize that enough.
You've got to know your strengths and weaknesses, and if you don't, it often results in losses. I don't know about you, Dick, but I think today's Pontiac game-changing performance was obvious out there on the court. Dick, you look back, it was a great matchup. We expected it to be, and it turned out to be everything we'd hoped for.
I'll tell you one thing, the team has really responded as a unit, and they've taken advantage of the abilities of their stars.
Florida State is on the short end of an overwhelming blowout.
This is a surprise since the two teams were so evenly matched.
So for Dick Vitale and Aaron Andrews, I'm Brad Nessler saying so long.
And what a story it is for Belmont. They're going to head to the national championship tomorrow night at 7 p.m. here on WTV. Belmont, a number 14 seed, going to head to the national championship. Something nobody has ever seen before. It's going to be a wonderful sight to see tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Belmont taking down Florida State by a blowout here tonight. Nothing many people would see. Blowouts against multiple teams. Kansas, Kentucky, Duke. And here against Florida State, they're going to head to the national championship team. One of the biggest Cinderella stories in March Madness history. But now, next up, we're going to get you guys to watch Creighton versus Gonzaga right after this.
I'm really excited about the matchup in the power forward position. When they play well, their respective teams usually play well. Let's see what happens tonight.
We've got a really interesting matchup here tonight at the shooting guard position. Number 30 is a brilliant three-point shooter that has seemingly unlimited range.
And the player we'll be guarding tonight is also a great three-point shooter that likes to shoot the long-distance jab.
Well, partner, I say let's get to the action on the court, and we'll see how this one plays out. Inside to the low block. Unable to so far. Nice job of packing it in defensively.
Yeah, really doing a great job packing it in, and a great job of anticipating that lateral pass.
He looks for the bomb. And working around the perimeter. Goes up for two. Perfectly executed. The shooting guard handles the pass. Looking for a good shot. And has it rejected.
Defense did a great job with that block shot.
The shooting guard receives the pass. Works the perimeter.
Spacing so important. They're 15 to 17 feet apart.
seconds on the clock. He puts up the J. Can't connect. There's the tempo for the game thus far.
We've seen a combination of both short and long possessions here, Brad. Nothing wrong with that if that's your team's ideal style of play.
Gave it up. There's a bad pass right to the defender. Cross court. For three. Off the mark. On the dribble, gives it up. Coach is telling them to run some offense now. Moving it around the perimeter. Gliding in for the jam.
Sliding and gliding, nobody rotating over. The defense moves so slowly.
Small forward with the ball.
Up and inside.
Great composure to pass it out of the trap. Number 24 gets the ball. 10 on the shot clock. Tries for two. The lay-in.
Get out of the way, baby. That was absolutely sensational.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight with Dick Vitale and Aaron Andrews. I'm Brad Nessler. On the outside. We'll take the shot. Jumper won't go. Out of bounds. The Blue Jays prefer a more balanced attack. They play up-tempo at times and really settling in the half-court at other times.
Definitely, Brad. They prefer a more balanced style, picking and choosing when to force the tempo and when to settle down in the half-court.
The shooting guard gets the pass.
Coming inside.
Jump hook from the low block. The Bulldogs have a hot hand right now that's scoring for them at the moment.
They need to keep feeding the ball. It's simple.
Gave it up. With a great block.
Great composure to pass it despite the trap, Brad.
10 on the shot clock. He goes with a spin.
I'll tell you, field the defensive player on your hip, going one way, you spin back the other way.
Working around the perimeter.
No frustration right there.
They're off into transition. Bishop receives the ball. On the dribble, gives it up. Got to get rid of it. Trying to feed inside. 10 seconds on the clock. The small forward with the ball. Kicks it out. He unloads a three. He can't get the bucket to fall. Gave it up. Well, I think it's time for some subs, Dick. The player fatigue is really setting in. For 2, he puts in another score.
He can see the light, Brad, and it's hanging right over the goal.
Number 30 takes the pass.
Excellent spacing. That's so important to a good offensive set. It's even more important to have talented guards like they have.
Yeah, that helps. And has it rejected.
Defense did a great job with that block shot.
10 on the shot clock. Puts up the J. The Blue Jays have found a player who cannot seem to miss it.
Now he's on fire.
The power forward takes the feed. On the dribble, gives it up. Intercepts it. Now on the run. Bishop receives the ball.
Great transition bucket. Try to go inside. That was really a nonchalant pass. Get that sucker out of the game, man.
Giving some room. Now they're working around the perimeter. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Off target. They're working around the arc.
That was a great effort right there. Trying to play that passing lane. Anticipating really well.
Looking for a good shot. Up and in. Great composure to pass it out of the trap.
I'll tell you, he missed the post guy. The post guy had the great angle, was rocking on the box.
Now looking for the ball screen, Dick.
Hey, the two-man game, Brad. So many teams incorporated into their scheme because it works.
10 seconds to shoot.
Great defensive play. Anticipated well. When you're an anticipator, you got a chance to do well. A lot of guys are reactors. If you're a reactor, you're one step behind the action.
He dials long distance. The ball goes out of play. Number 13 gets in on the action for the first time tonight.
He has great presence when he steps on the floor, Brad.
Let's go courtside. What do you got for us, Aaron?
Brad and Dick, not too many differences between these two players. Seems as though they're almost canceling each other out on the floor. This now could come down to which team is stronger.
Our trusty sideline reporter, Aaron Andrews, keeping everyone on their toes there on the sideline. Mahoney handles the feed. They work the perimeter. Tries for 2. Nope. He takes the board. Number 13 gets the ball.
Great anticipation defensively.
The Blue Jays have a player spotting up on the 3. Gave it up. For 2. Do they need a timeout here?
Yeah, they're poised to They should have got it to him about a second earlier.
And a momentary look from three-point land.
Great shot block right there. They had some good movement on the offensive side.
Working it around the perimeter. Number 3 is charged with the foul. First personal foul. Oh, the cheerleaders into it big time for their team.
They are really involved. I'll tell you one thing, they bring a lot of spirit.
On the outside. Escapes the trouble and makes a pass out. The small forward with the ball.
Handled Trev really well there, Brian.
Number 10 takes the feed. And the ball goes out of bounds. Shot clock. Up and in.
Look at that spacing.
Tries for 2. Perfectly executed. Cross court. For 2, off the rim and no good. Balanced teams, Dick. What are some of the things that they'll try to accomplish when they step out on the court?
I think when you have balance inside, outside scoring, tempo control, where you control the pace of the game, and that's what they try to do with their balance. They'll go fast, they'll go slow. They try to dictate tempo.
The power forward takes the feed. 10 seconds to get it off.
I'll tell you, what a nice turnaround jump shot. Soft as velvet, fading away, impossible to block.
There's a look at the current tempo for the game.
It's definitely been a slower paced game, Brad. Very few opportunities to push the ball.
They'd like to get it inside of the low block. Unable to so far. Nice job of packing it in defensively.
Yeah, they're really doing a great job packing it in, and a great job of anticipating that lateral pass.
He takes the open jumper. He wrecks the nets for another score.
He's absolutely unconscious.
Goes up for 2. The lay-in. Who will win the battle of tempos here tonight? That's what we want to know right now.
Well, Brad, controlling the tempo can be very difficult, especially for the entire game. But if you stick with your strengths and make changes when needed, winning becomes a lot easier.
On the elbow, they feed down to the low block. He comes up empty. Working around the perimeter.
Hey, dodge one there, Brian.
Picked out of the air. Mahoney handles the pass. Now trying to feed the low block. For the bucket. Nick, he's in a serious rhythm.
Hey, that's because he's getting the ball in rhythm, Brad. Very important.
You can't get any more open than that. Outside jumper is short. Pushes it up. And the ball goes out of play. 10 seconds left on the shot clock. He just can't escape the pressure.
Great job of containing the man there, Brian.
Picks off the lazy pass. On the dribble, gives it up. Tries for two. Perfectly executed. Number 24 handles the pass.
Great pass out of the trap, Brian.
Cross court. Turnaround jumper.
I tell you, what a nice turnaround jump shot. Soft as velvet, fading away, impossible block.
Looking for a good shot. Picks off the pass. Jefferson receives the ball. Works the perimeter.
Spacing so important, get 15 to 17 feet apart.
For two. An absolute slaughter for them on the boards tonight.
Somebody better put a body on these guys.
Kicks it out. He could not get more wide open. He misses from way outside. The small forward receives the ball. That spin move not successful, Dick.
I did a great job on the defense, not allowing him to make that turn. Trying to get that ball movement, get that good spacing.
He's in the clear. Number 3 for 3. Shot goes up and in.
Hey, there's just too much space.
Goes up for 2. Up and in. He tries to beat the clock. Misses on the three-point attempt. At the half, the Bulldogs are down by 12. Well, it's been a close one so far, Dick Vitale. What's your take on the play of the half?
Check out this dunk, which changed the momentum, Brad. I went down at the next half. There's still been more highlight reel dunks. Looks like both teams are trying to one-up one another.
It's time to get back to the court deck and see how the second half plays out. Number 3 has played a pretty consistent game so far, but the score is still way in favor of the opposition.
Hey, there are 4 of the players on the floor, Brad. We can't fault this young man for this blowout. In the second half, more players need to contribute. On a day like today, when your star isn't dominating, the other players need to carry some of the load.
Dick, it's all about teamwork, and as we start the second half and take a look at our player matchup update, it's pretty even.
I'll tell you, really great balance out there because you look at the stars right now, they're getting the ball in the right place on the court where they can be effective.
And he goes with a spin.
I'll tell you, feel the defensive player on your hip, going one way, you spin back the other way.
Escapes the trouble and makes a pass out. Moving it around the perimeter. Here comes the ball screen. Gave it up. He goes for 3. He missed. The shooting guard gets the pass.
Up and inside. possessions. A few fast breaks is the reason for that, Brad.
Cross court. Intercepted. The point guard gets the pass. They're going to move it around the perimeter. Tries for two. Can't get the shot to drop.
Up and inside.
Jumped in front to take it away. Jefferson receives the ball and working around the perimeter. Number 22 is called for the foul. You start comparing these backcourts, Dick. What are your impressions so far?
You know what, for me, Brad, good guard play will take you a long ways. If you think about teams in the past, they all had good guards who can apply good ball pressure, attack off the dribble, and distribute the ball. I can't emphasize enough how important backcourt play is. Excellent spacing, that's so important to a good offensive set. It's even more important to have talented guards like they have.
Yeah, that helps. He shoots from the top of the circle. They are banging the boards with authority.
Hey, Brad, and it's paying off.
Now they're working around the perimeter. He intercepts it. Now looking to attack. Cross court. Charging.
Kids, you got to see the whole floor, not just the hole.
Oh, and he's not going to be happy with that call.
Well, it's a silly foul right there, but look at his face. His facial expression tells it all.
Gave it up. He shoots from the baseline. Off the mark. The shooting guard gets the pass. They're working around the arc. He gets the rejection. Trying to feed the low block.
Right there, trying to play that passing lane, anticipating really well.
On the top of the circle.
In and out, tough luck.
Looking for a good shot.
Great defensive play, anticipated well. When you're an anticipator, you got a chance to do well. A lot of guys, they're reactors. If you're a reactor, you're one step behind the action.
Down inside. On the shot clock. Got it.
Didn't have the good angle. They should have got it to him about a second earlier.
The shooting guard takes the feed.
I'll tell you, he missed the post guy. The post guy had the great angle, was locking on the box.
Seconds left on the shot clock. For two, way off target. They work the perimeter. Takes away the pass. Here they come, trying to run again. He blocks the shot. guard receives the ball. Dumps it in. The ball goes out of bounds. The inbounds play.
What the heck is happening?